On June 27, 1980, investigators pulled the body of a 12-year-old girl from a septic tank at the edge of an elementary school swimming pool. Stones had been placed on top of her to keep her submerged. The tank was so steep and overgrown that the cleaning vehicles never reached it. Police thought they were recovering a standard missing person. They had no idea they were looking at the first victim of a predator who would eventually get away with 7 murders. Her name was Tomiko Yamasaki. She vanished on August 27, 1975. Her shoes were still at the door. It is a small thing, but that detail sat with me for a while. She disappeared from her own home, and nobody noticed until her mother returned from work hours later. This was Saga Prefecture in western Japan, a place of quiet towns, rice paddies, mandarin groves, and narrow rural roads that empty out by dark. It was the kind of place where neighbors know each other's schedules, where a missing person is noticed fast. When Tomiko vanished, police searched, neighbors searched. They found absolutely nothing. No trace, no witness, no explanation. The prefecture moved on. What nobody knew was that her remains were hidden less than 2 miles away. 3 days before they finally found Tomiko, investigators were at that exact same school for a completely different reason. A 19-year-old woman named Ritsuko Hyakutake had disappeared 2 months earlier, in April. 4 days after Ritsuko vanished, her family received a letter. It was written in an archaic form of Japanese kana script. It said their daughter wasn't coming back, and it said the writer hoped they would suffer. They also received phone calls, a young-sounding man telling Ritsuko's father not to go on television, not to show her photograph. Ritsuko's body was found in the exact same septic tank as Tomiko. 2 women from the same small district, hidden in the same place, found within the same week. And yet, and I want to be clear about this, the cases were investigated entirely separately. Different towns, different stations, different command structures. The cases weren't formally linked, no centralized task force, no shared evidence protocol. But here is the detail that changes everything. Here's the part that turns this from a tragedy into a total institutional collapse. When the police finally arrested a suspect years later, they held his confession for 13 years. They waited until the clock had nearly run out. The indictment for the first murder charge was filed on July 7, 2002. That was approximately 6 hours before the statute of limitations expired. 6 hours. The system didn't just fail to catch a killer, it actively ran down the clock on its own justice. To understand how a failure of that magnitude happens, we have to look at the timeline. October 7th, 1981, a Wednesday. 27-year-old Chizuko Ikigami left her factory job and never made it home. Her strangled body was found 2 weeks later in a vacant lot, still wearing her work clothes. She was the 3rd woman to vanish from within 20 kilometers of radius of Kitagata. February 17, 1982, a Wednesday. An 11-year-old girl was strangled on her walk home from school. She was found the following morning behind a mandarin grove north of her junior high gymnasium. She is the youngest victim, and she remains unidentified in public records. I want to sit with that for a moment, because I think it says something about this case that even now, the system that failed to protect her also failed to give her back her name. By this point, 4 females were dead, all within the same tight geography, 3 of them on Wednesdays. My read on this is simple. The Wednesday pattern was glaringly obvious to anyone who looked at all 4 cases together, but the Saga Prefectural Police operated in strict jurisdictional silos. Different towns, different stations, different command structures. The cases weren't formally linked, no centralized task force, no shared evidence protocol. Then the killing stopped. For 5 years, nothing. And honestly, I still don't know what to make of this gap. Was the killer incapacitated, incarcerated for something else? Had they moved? We don't know. Cases like this are exactly why this channel exists, the ones where the official file closes, but the real questions are just beginning. I dig into the records so you don't have to.
What we do know is that when the murders resumed, they resumed on a Wednesday, July 8, 1987. Sumiko Fujise, 48, vanished from Kitagata. December 7, 1988. Kiyomi Nakajima, 50, disappeared after a neighbor saw her speaking with a man on a bicycle. Over the following weeks, her husband received a series of silent phone calls. He described the caller as someone using a mix of the local Saga dialect and Osaka dialect. It was as though the person wanted to be recognized, but not quite identified. January 25, 1989. Tatsuyo Yoshino, 37, left work and told her parents she was going to help a friend whose car had broken down. She was never seen alive again. On January 27, 1989, a woman picking flowers in a rural road near Kitagata Otoge discovered 3 bodies at the base of a cliff. Sumiko, Kiyomi, Tatsuyo, together. They were found in a location nobody had checked in the 18 months since Sumiko first disappeared. That discovery finally produced a unified investigation, a task force, a name: the Kitagata Affair. Male DNA was detected on Tatsuyo's clothing. It was never matched to anyone. In November 1989, a 26-year-old man was detained on unrelated charges. During what Japanese legal documents describe as a cognitive interview, he confessed to the 3 Kitagata murders. Then he recanted. He said the confession had been coerced. The police beat it out of him. The police held that confession for 13 years. On June 11, 2002, the man, by now 39 and already in prison for an unrelated crime, was formally charged with the murder of Tatsuyo Yoshino. 2 more charges followed for the other Kitagata victims. They filed the indictment for the first charge just 6 hours before the statute of limitations expired. The prosecution argued for the death penalty based on a 13-year-old recanted confession. In April 2005, the Saga District Court acquitted him. The ruling explicitly cited a lack of conclusive evidence and coercion by the interrogating officers. The prosecution appealed. In March 2007, the Fukuoka High Court upheld the acquittal. In the second trial, prosecutors introduced newly obtained mitochondrial DNA evidence. It did not match the suspect. The thing that convinced me this was a total collapse of justice is what happened next. After the 2 acquittals, the Saga Prefectural Police formally admitted to conducting a poor investigation, including over-interrogating the suspect. While this man was held, interrogated, tried, acquitted, retried, and acquitted again, the statute of limitations on all 7 Saga murders was running down. Japanese law at the time set the statute of limitations for murder at 15 years. The clock ran from the date of each crime. By the time the second acquittal came in 2007, the window to charge anyone for any of the 7 murders had already closed. The Wednesday Strangler became legally immune, while the state was focused entirely on the wrong person. I find myself returning to the fact that the Saga Prefectural Police didn't formally recognize the 7 cases as a connected series until the 2010s, long after the statute of limitations had expired, after it no longer mattered legally whether one person did all 7 or not. In 2020, Japan reformed its laws to abolish the statute of limitations for murder entirely. That reform came too late for any of these cases. The male DNA recovered from Tatsuyo's clothing is presumably still stored somewhere in an evidence locker. Modern forensic genealogy could theoretically be applied to it. If anyone's heard a different version of this or knows if Saga Prefecture has pursued that path, I genuinely want to know. Because I searched the records and I couldn't find a single shred of proof that they have. This is the part I can't stop thinking about. The letter, written in old kana script, sent to a grieving father 4 days after her daughter disappeared. She isn't coming back. Suffer. Whoever wrote that letter wanted the family to know. They wanted to be seen. They wanted the knowledge to exist somewhere, even if it could never be proven. There are 7 families in Saga Prefecture who never got an answer. Not because the evidence was impossible, not because the case was too old, but because the institution that was supposed to find the truth spent 13 years looking at the wrong man. And while they were looking, the clock ran out. The Wednesday Strangler is still unidentified. They are still uncharged, and under current Japanese law, they can never be charged for any of these 7 murders. The case isn't cold. The case is closed. Those are different things. And if you want to understand how a case like this gets buried, there is another file covering a forensic cover-up that answers exactly that.